That is correct. It is a special Friday before a holiday edition of Orange and Blue today, where we're talking about first month expectations at Cecil Lammey. It's Andrew Mason and Mace.
You're wearing a coat. First of all, is this a Friday thing now? You're wearing a sport coat.
It's a tuxedo coat as well. I got it for NFL honors years ago.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
and it still fits.
Well, if I stood up, it'd look pretty large on me. But anyway,
yeah.
The expectations for me are to wear sport coats on Friday. The expectations for the Broncos
so
in the first
the opposite
4 games.
Of casual Friday then.
Exactly. It's not casual Friday. Yeah. What's best for the company? Mace, what's best for the Broncos in the first 4 games? We'll go through them individually, but just overall, what do you need to see in that first month?
I mean, the best thing is you'd win 4 games, obviously. I mean, that's the whole thing. But I think what you want to see is efficient football. You want to see this team establishing its identity. What is it going to be? They're going to throw some more complex concepts in offensively. How does everyone adjust to those things? What's the run pass ratio when your first to third quarter game is 7 to 10 points either way? Like, are you establishing balance? Is the run setting up the pass? Defensively, are you able to get home consistently in the pass rush without having to blitz? We know we'll see some blitzing looks from Vance Joseph, but you don't want to blitz that much. How do you look at cornerback beyond Pat Surtain? Because you're going to have Jaquan McMillan, Fabian Moreau, Damari Mathis when he gets back from injury. You've got Sam Howell filling in for K'Wan Williams, who's on IR in the slot. Our team's going to try to exploit the relative lack of experience in the secondary beyond Pat Surtain. These are all things I think we're going to find out here in the next 4 weeks.
Yeah, the question marks abound for this Broncos team. I'll say Sam Howell gets a pick against Jimmy Garoppolo and the Las Vegas Raiders.
So 4 games in a row.
4 games in a row. As many as 4 games in a row. There's your Office Space reference for Sam Howell. But the Vegas Raiders, 2 things for me. Stop their pass rush in week 1 and then stop Josh Jacobs. He's back, everybody, and he's been a problem for these Denver Broncos. So in that opener, you want to beat the Raiders. You want to show up. You want to show out. But those 2 things, if you don't stop their pass rushers, you're in trouble, Mac. And if you don't stop Josh Jacobs, they'll just run it down your throat.
Yeah, and the pass rush is what you're worried about. You're obviously starting with Max Crosby and Chandler Jones up front. We've talked a lot about the Broncos' offensive tackles, Garrett Bowles and Mike McGlinchey. McGlinchey had the sprained knee. Garrett Bowles has struggled in training camp in the preseason. Although in the preseason games, I could say he got better from game 1 to game 2. The work against the Rams and the joint practices, which we can say is preseason game 3 for the starters, a little bit shaky. Not great, Bob. Not great. So that's going to be paramount in this game. And look, there's a lot of time to overcome a loss in week 1, but there are going to be a lot of questions if you can't get that week 1 game done, because the Raiders, they don't appear to be better than they were last year.
Right.
Jimmy Garoppolo, do you think he is better than Derek Carr, or do you think he's a downgrade? I think he's a downgrade. I think he's a downgrade.
Yes.
You don't have Darren Waller at tight end anymore. Now he's a captain for the New York Giants. That's a downgrade as well. When you're
Michael
talking
Mayer
about Austin
is a
Hooper.
rookie in there.
Yeah, Michael Mayer's their second teamer, and Austin Hooper's a starter right now. Hooper's not bad, but he can't beat you as many ways as Darren Waller. And Josh Jacobs, he hasn't had training camp in the preseason to get ramped up. Just how fit is he going to be in that first game? Is he going to be at his usual workload? The fact that he's going to be out there certainly hurts the Broncos, but the fact that he's going to be out there without any snaps to his name, except for the last couple of weeks of practice, maybe helps the Broncos a little bit.
It definitely helps the Broncos, and it's setting up, even if it's a close win, just get that win, and we may be talking about more close wins. But what about the Commanders, Mace? You and I are 2 Sam Howell truthers, I guess. We believe in Sam Howell. We believe that Eric Bieniemy, looking for a head coaching gig, eventually, maybe, he's going to have something to say with this offense. We'll talk about the Commanders' pass rushers. You're going to have to stop those guys as well. But I think people are kind of overlooking the Commanders in week 2, another home game for the Broncos.
It will be Sam Howell's first road start in the NFL, because he started that game week 18 last season at home to close the season, I believe, against Dallas. Now he's going to start the opener against Arizona in the DMV coming up here. So it'll be certainly a test for Sam Howell. In some respects, you're glad you get them in week 2 rather than week 1 because you're going to get that week of film with Howell running the Eric Bieniemy offense. The other thing that's in play here that may help the Broncos is the injury status of Terry McLaurin, who I'd say probably 50-50 at best to play that week 2 game. And that takes a key weapon away from the Commanders. Now, they have plenty of other weapons.
Yes.
And one thing that Sam Howell appears to have figured out very early in his career as an NFL starter is that when you have a collection of skill players like Washington does, very explosive, a lot of playmakers. I mean, we can talk, Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson. I mean, Gibson's a, Swiss Army.
Jahan Dotson could be their version of Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
So maybe no Terry McLaurin. They got other guys. And if Logan Thomas is healthy, I know that's a big if, Mace.
If he's healthy,
can the Broncos cover an athletic tight end?
Yeah. Gosh, Logan Thomas played here as a quarterback 9 seasons ago.
Yeah. Logan Thomas, we saw at the Senior Bowl, and there was a major analyst who was like, he's a great quarterback. Oh, okay.
Wait, Mel Kiper Jr. early in Logan Thomas's career at Virginia Tech said that Thomas could go number 1 overall, I believe, at QB.
Yes, as a QB.
But he had to change. Part of the reason that he had to change, and this was evident when he played for Virginia Tech, 0 feel for the pass rush.
Right.
Absolutely none.
Right.
Like
but a fine tight end.
Yeah, but eventually he's become a very good tight end. But the other thing is the background as a QB means he thinks like a quarterback. He thinks in terms of finding those gaps in coverage to make sure that Sam Howell can locate him. When it's running properly, Washington has a pick your poison attack, and Sam Howell, even though sometimes he will hang on to the ball a bit too long, trying to extend things and make it happen, we're seeing more and more. He's getting the ball out quickly, making good decisions, throwing to the open man. We'll talk about it again with Justin Fields. It's a young QB as point guard, as in your job is to distribute. That's it. That is your primary job. If you just distribute properly, get it to whoever's open, good things are going to happen. And that's what makes Washington so dangerous, especially I mentioned at the top of the show just how compromised the Broncos secondary is. Are they going to be able to cover everybody?
2 home games to start things off. First road game. I don't like this, Mace. At Miami. Now, it might be the return of Jerry Jeudy. So what does that mean for the Denver Broncos offense? And wait till you all see this offense. We talked about it on Thursday's show. Like, this offense, you didn't see much in training camp at the preseason. Pretty vanilla. This offense can be, there's some dynamism to the Broncos offense. Jerry Jeudy will be a part of that, but I don't like coming back in that humidity. And we know in Miami, early game, things haven't always gone well for the Denver Broncos.
Let's also talk about where this game stacks up for the Miami Dolphins early in the season, because Miami opens at the Los Angeles Chargers, at New England on Sunday night. Going to be an emotional game up there in Foxborough. They play the Broncos in week 3, then at Buffalo, New York Giants at home. So that's a pretty stacked opening. Miami is looking at that week 3 game and saying, we've got to have it. And there's a possibility Miami comes into that game 0-2 and very desperate. Now, Miami, a playoff team last year, they've got the goods. Might have been able to win at Buffalo with better luck health-wise at quarterback. Of course, they didn't have Tua Tagovailoa in that game. So this is one where, looking at how Miami is going to need this game, looking at Miami's overall talent, kind of talking about it with Washington as well, a lot of skill players. You're going to have to be solid on the back end. And then, of course, there are the conditions. You're playing in South Florida at 1:00, massive heat and humidity on a Sunday afternoon.
Right.
That's as tough a weather environment as you're going to find in the NFL in the first 2.5 months of the season.
Reminds me of the old Adam Sadler bit, dehydration. Like, yeah. And Jerry Jeudy coming back with that sort of injury, Mace, that's where I'm uncomfortable with it. Like, we all want to see Jerry Jeudy back, but
it's his homecoming. He's from
homecoming. He's not going to want to miss it.
Yeah.
But don't get dehydrated on a hamstring.
Yeah. That's going to be something you imagine the Broncos are very careful about. Now, that being said, Jeudy appears to be coming along nicely here about a week and a half after the injury, or a week and 2 days. Like, he's progressing really well. We see the guys working out on the side field. Judy's getting his paces in. And we are talking about, that being 3 weeks out from Sunday when that game is. So I think it's very possible he's ready. Now the question is, are they going to limit his reps? But the other thing also that's the tell on Jerry Jeudy is the Broncos put 3 players on injured reserve this week, and Jerry Jeudy was not among them.
Yes,
Neither,
it's a good sign.
Neither was Riley Moss, which, to go back to discussing the secondary, now he's a rookie. He's going to make some mistakes. He basically didn't have training camp at all because of that core muscle injury. So they're going to have to bring him along slowly, but he could factor in at some point to bolster that secondary as well.
Now's when the guys are coming back, but we're doing 4-game preview on Orange and Blue today, presented by Sean Ponda, and the final one, another road game. You mentioned him earlier, but Justin Fields is going to get at you. Man alive, with the DJ Moore out there making plays. They've got a trio of backs in Chicago, so Chicago can beat you multiple ways. And not only that, Fields is a runner.
Yeah, but
he's Michael Vick and Josh Allen's body, everybody.
Of course, they've got our guy, Roschon Johnson. They picked in the 4th round.
Love him.
Love the value on him, but Khalil Herbert and Deontay Freeman there in the backfield. DJ Moore's been transformative, and even though Chase Claypool has, underwhelmed to this point,
still a big body that's fast.
Still, exactly. They've got good depth at tight end right now, coming in. Be it
Cole Kmet can catch touchdowns,
but you got Robert Tonyan behind him who can make some plays.
Big Bob Tonyan,
yeah, Big Bob can make some plays vertically as well. It's a really interesting offense the Bears have here, and last year Justin Fields 17 touchdown passes, 11 picks, 25 total touchdowns if you count the runs, and I think for Justin Fields, that's part of the equation you have to consider.
Yes.
Even though there's that stat, he still hasn't thrown for 300 yards yet as a pro. That's going to change this year. Don't know if it's going to change against the Broncos or if it will change by then. Will have changed by then. But this is a tough matchup against a team that, you get to week 4. This is a team that might have some wind in its sails.
Well, I know Detroit's opening up the season against Kansas City in week 1, but the Chicago Bears are set to win that division.
Chicago opens with Green Bay, so we're going to get a referendum on 2 young quarterbacks early, Jordan Love and Justin Fields.
Put my chips on the Bears in that game.
Week 2 at Tampa Bay. It's kind of a coin flip game. I may think a little bit more highly of the Bucs' chances than most, but I don't think the Bucs' chances are great.
Right.
And then week 3, Chicago at Kansas City. That's an L.
That's a wrap. But
so
how is Chicago looking at this Denver game? They're looking at it as a W.
Yes, exactly. And this is another thing in terms of how Broncos country perceives these games. I mean, you might be sitting there saying, "Oh, Vegas win." Hey, wait a minute. Did the Broncos not just lose the last 6 games in a row to Las Vegas?
You betcha.
Okay. They literally have not beaten the Raiders since they moved to Vegas. Think about that for a moment. Mm-hmm. They've never beaten the Las Vegas Raiders, beaten the Oakland Raiders, the Los Angeles Raiders, but never the Las Vegas Raiders.
Right.
I mean, that's killer right there.
Gave the Oakland Raiders their final loss ever as Oakland.
Yeah. They were
People look at the Commanders game, they think that's a win.
The Broncos were killers to the Oakland Raiders, and now since then, the Vegas Raiders have killed the Broncos.
Yes.
Anyway.
Commanders, people are saying, oh, it's a Broncos win. Like, wait.
Commanders are looking at this game and saying that's a game that we got to win.
Right.
Like they're expecting to win that game.
Yep.
And Miami is expecting to beat the Broncos. And then you get to week 4, and out in Chicago, they're saying, look, if we can be a surprise team this year, we've got to take care of business against teams that are on our level or lower. They're looking at the Broncos as a game that they should win. So perception is everything sometimes in terms of how we analyze a season. But just want to let y'all know that in these other precincts of the NFL, you've got teams that are looking at a Bronco game and saying, hey, that's a dub we got to have.
Yes. So perception is reality. And as we tie a bow on today's program, abbreviated show, it's a Friday before a holiday weekend. We hope everyone has a safe and happy Labor Day. Mace, you said 4-0 is what you want, obviously, but let's talk real. Is this team 2-2 after 4? Are they 3-1? Please don't tell me less than 2-2. Please, just lie to me, baby.
I think they're 2-2.
2-2. 2 up, 2
You
down.
want me to lie to you? Because as Sheryl Crow sang, lie to me, I promise I'll believe.
Okay, so if they're 2 up and 2 down.
Is that going to be strong enough for the Broncos to get where they want to go this year?
No. People will be upset if they're 2-2 after a month.
I think 2-2 means you're doing some good things. You're on path for where this thing needs to go. But then you're also looking at October and saying, okay, one of those Chiefs games or the Jets game, we got to get 2-2 after 4. You're hoping to be 4-4 after 8. That's not great, but it means you're still in play to do all the good things that you want, because the assumption is they're going to get better in the second half of the season as they fully adjust to what Sean Payton wants.
What's your expectations for the Broncos in the first 4 games? Let us know in the comments. And otherwise, we're wrapping up today's show. Abbreviated again. Everyone have a safe holiday. We're out of here. Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. He's Mace. I'm Cecil. Stay frosty, everybody.